Greetings from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Thursday, February 27, 2025. Yes, it's been a while. She's been upside down for at least a month, maybe two, but Connie now is upright. As you can see, Joni Alden, Vital Signs and Silk Printing in Colchester, Vermont, has finished her lettering. And that's just beautiful gold leaf. Soon she'll be going home to Harson's Island in Michigan, probably not too soon. So Joe and I thought, now that we have her upright and have begun dealing with the decks, covering boards, etc., we would give you an update to give you some sense of what's in front of us. So Joe, why don't you start us out right here at the stern?
Yeah, so as we flipped it over, I noticed a lot of the decks, it was really kind of mobile. It was moving a lot, which was causing, when I wanted to strip it, this plank was, 1/8 inch higher, and you could push down on one and you could just move the plank. So I decided to pull the deck up, and to my surprise, I found out what caused it. As you can see, all these main frames back here completely split wide open. I mean, there wasn't a screw being held in that whatsoever. I mean, most of them I was able to, once I got the bungs removed, I was able to just pull the plank up without even really had to pull a screw out. And the way that Chris Craft did most of their decks is you can see that their battens float. It's more or less just to go in between the seams. That promotes a lot of movement. So my theory on that is I've done it several times where I would mortise in a new batten to both sides of the frame. So that way it's really tying everything all together and it doesn't allow it to move as much. As well as these frames, the only thing that holds these frames in is 3 screws into the covering boards. There's nothing going in on the sides. I mean, literally you have 1/2 inch of wood that's supporting all the weight of this deck.
So there's one for each frame, right?
One for each frame. So we're gonna go through, and we're probably gonna end up having to replace these because, I mean, it's cracked all the way through, all the way down here at the bottom because the screws came in at an angle. So over time, the movement would pop it out.
Just split it out.
Just split it completely out. So we'll get that done. There's a few things throughout the covering boards. I mean, they all look structurally sound. There is some kind of epoxy varnish on it, which it makes it really interesting to strip. Best way I can tell is if you take a sander and bring it down to it and you can't scratch it, that's epoxy. Because varnish, as soon as you heat it up with a sander, you should be able to take and make a good scratch into it with your finger.
So we're going to go through and strip all these, but not replace the covering boards.
Correct, yeah, the covering boards look great. Now the foredeck, actually before we get to the foredeck, when we first received this boat, we noticed that these seat backs, these corner pieces they're rotted out on the back sides of them. They're punky. So I'm gonna have to remove these and completely remake this one little corner piece on both sides. Other than that, those are great. There's a few Dutchmans here and there where there's the U22 famous crack. I mean, I see this in almost every single U22 that I've worked on.
Yeah, that's because this plank is dadoed out and actually extends clear to there. And they're well, I'll use my French. They're a bitch to get apart without snapping something in this area.
Yeah, they're always fun. They usually take me quite a while. And then up on their foredeck, they are original decks, and it looked like at one point in a previous restoration, it looked like the planks maybe separated a little bit, like in the back. And what they did is they filled each seam with a Dutchman, and they went through and resawed out the seams. But a lot of the seams, if you look, they're not straight. They come kicking out at an angle. Some of them are pretty bad. This side's not as bad as the other side, but the other side's quite atrocious. So once we get these stripped, get the grooves all cleaned up, I'll probably have to fill some of them and re-dado in the seam. But I'm hoping it's not a whole deck and it's just a few pieces, which would be great.
And the tow rail, we always remove, right?
Yeah, because if you don't remove this, if there's any amount of rot in it, you're allowing it to encapsulate and just spread throughout your deck. So if you're doing it, take them off, even if, it's a pain to varnish over it afterwards, but, you're really saving the longevity of the deck if you actually go through, remove, and look extensively for any rot. Because if there's any rot, it just spreads. There's nothing you can do to stop it unless you get it out.
So the same with the nose. And what's cool, you can always test a U22, because the U22 originally, when it left Algonac, had been stamped with its hull number right here. So if you have a U22 and you don't have that hull number stamped in, what is this one, Joe?
This one is U22 1587.
And if you don't have that and you're considering, let's say, buying one of these, and the U22s are getting pretty pricey, you know that something major happened at this front end. And I would always recommend doing a little bit more research. And as we walk around here, you can see that Joni has completed the registration numbering. We have the hull sides, have about 10 coats of varnish on
10
the hull
coats,
side?
and then I put one on it just to seal in all the nice work that Joni did yesterday. Obviously it will get more, but I wanted to get up here finished up so that way I can start varnishing both all at the same time, because it makes the process a lot easier and a lot faster.
So Joe will be focusing here along with the other projects we've got, and we'll be back to you sometime next week with an update. But that's our update for Thursday, February 27, 2025. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boat Works.